Today we are drafting from the 105 in a 12-team format. Let's get into it. Looking at the board, pretty standard for what you usually see. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Top 4 guys that are usually coming off the board have come off the board. At the 105, you're going to be making a decision for what you want to build your team as. You're either going to take JSN, Amon-Ra, or CMC. JSN is definitely a bit of a riskier take here. I personally don't like JSN this year. I think there's going to be regression from him, as well as the Seahawks in general with a tougher schedule, as well as a new offensive coordinator and stuff like that. I'm expecting a bit of regression on their end. Amon-Ra is definitely the safer bet and the safer player to take at the 105, but CMC is the one that has the highest upside, but as well as the highest risk. And we know his history with injury as well, but I still think that he's going to be super productive. And if he is healthy throughout the entire season, I think he is the league winner. He is the difference maker. So that is who we're going to be taking here at the 105. That is CMC to solidify ourselves an elite running back early on. Next up, we see that a ton of running backs have come off the board. And essentially, we want to get ourselves an elite running back if possible, but we see that the next players up are players like Breece Hall, Jeremiah Love, Kyron, Javonte. I think these are a bit of reaches here at this point. I think we want to get ourselves an elite wide receiver as they are still available, and the player I'm going to be targeting is A.J. Brown. I think A.J. Brown being the #1 option in New England, as well as Kayshon Boutte off the team. It's essentially just him and Romeo Doubs there demanding targets. And we know how A.J. Brown is. He wants targets. So I think that he has a safe floor as well as high ceiling and a ton of potential to be a super productive wide receiver. Definitely somebody I'm confident in playing and knowing that he will be productive on my team. At the 305, I think that we're going to try to get ourselves another running back here as they are still available. Again, the running back drop-off in tiers, I think, happens pretty drastically, especially after the 4th round. It's not going to be a ton of options that we really want. So I'm fine with A.J. Brown as our wide receiver 1, but I still want to solidify ourselves a second running back that is going to be super elite and productive. And that player that I have is going to be Javonte Williams. I really like Javonte this year. I think he's going to be a nice, safe floor running back as well as a nice, decent ceiling running back. I think Javonte last year averaged 15 points per game. I expect the same to carry on over this year. Really no competition over there in terms of running back room. I think he's the clear #1. I mean, last year he had around 70% of the snaps. So Javonte at the 305, I think, is a great take. I prefer him over Kyron. I also prefer him over Jacobs, who might have legal troubles and stuff like that. Breece Hall on his offense, and then Travis Etienne as well. Not my favorite take. So I think Javonte here at the 305 is a no-brainer for me. At the 408, I'm going to go through and take Davante Adams. I really like Davante. I know he's a player not much people are kind of hyping up or stuff like that. He's older. He's easily on the best offense in the league right now. If Puka goes down, Davante is going to be super, super elite and productive. And even if Puka is playing, Davante is still a nice 14, 13 points per game floor. If he gets a touchdown, which he usually does, he can easily get up to that 16 plus points per game. So Davante Adams at the 408 for me, I think is a great player to take and kind of keep on our team. At the 505, essentially up in the air of what you want to do. You can go for a running back like a Byshell Tootin, Travion, Jadarian Price, or you can solidify yourself another wide receiver. And I'm personally going to be going for wide receiver here. And the player I'm going to go for is going to be Rome Odunze. I think on the Bears, Rome Odunze is going to be the wide receiver 1. I know a lot of people are hyping up Luther, but Luther is currently dealing with an injury. Rome is getting more reps and plays with his team. And I just feel like he's going to be the wide receiver 1 there. Again, if you prefer Luther, go Luther here. I prefer Rome. If you want a player like a Mike Evans, a Christian Watson, you can go for it. I personally wouldn't. I'd go for either Rome or Luther. If not that, go for a player like Tyler Warren, who also will be productive for the tight end position. Now at the 608, we're going to solidify a third running back, and that is going to be Jadarian Price. I think Jadarian Price has a ton of upside, especially for his rookie role. I really like him. I think he's going to be a great player to take. The first half of the season, while Charbonnet is out, I think Jadarian is going to be an elite running back, easily a top 15 running back in terms of production for fantasy. When Charbonnet comes back, it's going to be a bit more interesting. We can try to use him as kind of a trading piece or something if we need to, but definitely take him in the 6th round. I think he's a really nice upside shot. Probably my favorite rookie this year in terms of production and upside for his ADP. In the 7th round, we're going to continue to take our running backs, and we're going to go and take Jaylen Warren. I think he's one of the last running backs that we can easily flex and know he will be productive. He has the receiving upside. He'll probably average around 10 to 12 points for a floor. And then if he gets a touchdown, he can easily get up to the 16 points per game plus. So Jaylen Warren, I think he's the clear #1 option for the Steelers. Rico Dowdle will be maybe more of a goal line player. Jaylen Warren has that receiving role, which is what you want in full PPR. So he will be our 705. We see at the 806, the Texans defense is coming off, which is pretty bizarre in my opinion. I think that's too far of a reach, but obviously we're drafting against composite ADP. This is, I guess, where they're going in drafts right now, which is still pretty crazy to me. But at the 808, we're going to continue with the running back room, and that is going to be Jonathan Brooks. Chuba Hubbard currently injured. Jonathan Brooks is getting more and more reps with his team. I think that they're eventually going to let him be the running back wonder. As long as he's healthy, I think he has a ton of upside and potential. I don't know if he's going to be as productive as Rico Dowdle was last year, but definitely pretty close. I think that if he takes over as the true running back one, the running back, I think the potential there is through the roof. So he's definitely another player we want to take an upside shot on. And so far, I think our running back room is super solidified. We don't really need another running back here, so I think we're fine with that. At the 905, I'm going to go take George Kittle. George Kittle is a player I have recently been loving a lot because he's projected to be coming back in week 1. Initially, I wasn't really drafting much of him because of the injury. He might have missed the first 4 weeks, but now we're hearing that he's going to be coming back. And if you look at his production, I mean, this is super elite production. This is top 3 tight end production coming from a player that is coming in the 9th round. For me, I think that's a no-brainer. He's a player you should definitely take and store on your team. Next up at the 1008, I think we're going to go and take ourselves a quarterback, and we have a player like Brock Purdy, we have a Jackson Dart, we have a Bo Nix, Mahomes, a ton of really, really good options. I think out of everybody here, my favorite is going to be Brock Purdy, and that is the player that I'm going to be taking here. I think Brock Purdy has a ton of rushing upside. He has the ability to throw the ball. He has a target like George Kittle. Nice little stack there. So I like him in the 10th round. I think he's a good player to take. In the 11th, and going on, we're going to be essentially building up our depth, kind of solidifying ourselves, high upside wide receivers, running backs, and stuff like that. And looking through at who is available, we have Jalen Coker here at the 1105. I think Jalen Coker has a ton of upside and potential. Honestly, I prefer him over Tedero McMillan, even though Ted is the number 1 option there. I think Jalen is a player that can get around 7 to 8 points per game without a touchdown. If he gets a touchdown, he's easily at the 13 plus. So a nice player for your bench. If you need to plug and play him at some point, I think it's a great player to take. I think he's going to be really good. In the 12th round, we're seeing that a ton of defenses are coming off the board. So at this point, there's no point of reaching for a defense. We're going to be essentially streaming defenses kind of at this point, but we're going to continue to build up our bench, build up our depth. The next player I'm probably going to go and take is going to be Trey Tucker here, another wide receiver with a ton of upside. I think that is going to be productive. If anybody's going to be the wide receiver 1 here on the Raiders, I think that Trey Tucker has a really good chance. We saw last year he was getting targeted heavily, but his quarterback play wasn't the best. Definitely more of an upside shot, but I think not a bad player to store on your bench, especially for 12-team formats. Kind of continuing through in the 13th round, we'll probably go and take ourselves our kicker, and I'm going to go and take Brandon Aubrey. I know that a lot of people are saying that Fairbairn is best kicker in the league, Dicker. I prefer Aubrey. I think that it's a high-powered offense. He has the foot. I mean, he sets records. He's a really good player. We'll take him here in the 13th round. You might say it's early, but trust me when I say this, that these kickers, they come off even earlier. I've seen them come off super early, so I think he's a player we're going to take no problem. In the 14th round, I guess we'll go and take ourselves a defense here while they're still available, and the defense we're going to take is Jacksonville. I actually think Jacksonville has a pretty nice schedule as well as a pretty good roster for defense. Definitely a ton of potential and upside. Not as good as obviously one of the top 3 teams, but I mean, where they're going at, we got ourselves a nice running back, tight end, a good quarterback. So I'm not really complaining about that. And then the next 2, we're just going to continue to build up our depth and our bench. We'll take Chig here for the tight end position. I really like Chig. I think he has a ton of potential and upside. He's going to be super productive on the Washington Commanders. I think that he's a great player to take here in the 15th round. And then in the 16th, we're going to go and take Kayshon Boutte. Kayshon was recently traded to Houston. I really think he's going to slot into the wide receiver 2 spot there and be super productive. So he's a player to take in the 16th round. Definitely a nice upside shot with a ton of potential. Looking at our team, we have Brock Purdy as our starting quarterback. Again, really good quarterback, ton of potential there, running ability, throwing ability. I mean, everything you really want. And a quarterback in the 10th round, I think, is a no-brainer. CMC, Javonte Williams. CMC, league winner if he hits. If he doesn't, definitely risky, but we know the risk we're taking. We also have depth for that. I think that can cover him. Javonte Williams, super consistent on a high-powered offense. I think he'll easily average 14 to 15 points per game as on average. And then obviously if he hits a floor or ceiling, it's going to be really nice. A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, I think it's a nice older receiving core, but should be super productive and targeted heavily. George Kittle, I mean, you guys saw his production. He's easily a top tight end in the league, and he should be coming back week 1. So I really like George Kittle in the 9th round. Rome, Jadarian Price, a ton of upside there. Should be a ton of potential and upside. Nice players for our flex. Jaguars defense and Brendan Aubrey. Again, not the best defense in the league, but should be productive enough for us to play them. Brendan Aubrey, I think, is the best kicker in the league. Jalen Warren, Jonathan Brooks. Jalen Warren, super consistent floor, has a nice ceiling with the receiving upside as well as a touchdown. If Jonathan Brooks, if he takes over as the running back 1, should be super productive. Coker, Tucker, Booty, ton of options there in terms of wide receiver if we need to plug and play them at some point, but I like our receiving core anyway. I don't think we should be too worried about it. And then Chig for our backup tight end, who, again, if Kittle does go down again or something, Chig, I think, is going to be super productive this year. So this is the type of team you can be building from the 105. Again, CMC is a bit of a risk for sure, but I think that in fantasy it's go big or go home, especially with the player like CMC. If he hits, he's going to hit super heavily. If he doesn't hit, I think that you have backups like Inna Warren, Jonathan Brooks, Jadarian Price, again, definitely not on the same level as CMC, but they could cover him if he misses production. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. I will see you guys in the next one when we are picking from the 106.